The other big hit Maori issue is Te Paipai Motuhake, the release of the Maori language report from a panel of Te Reo Māori experts. They've asked the government to create a special role, Minister of Te Reo Māori, to oversee a $600 million budget to promote and boost the language. Joining me now, Sir Tamati Reedy, Chairman of Te Paipai Motuhake. What can you tell me about the reaction that you've had to the release of the review this week?
Well, the release occurred in Wellington and we had a public release there. The place was full, tremendous interest in it, and there seemed to be a great deal of support for the change. I guess it comes about because people do realise there's been a dip in the statistics on the number of our people speaking Te Reo Māori. So it's raised the concern, and of course the government fired the shot to have a review done. And we've produced our report, and the report makes its recommendations. But to answer your question, it's been well received and well supported. What
sort of reaction have you had from the Minister of Māori Affairs?
Well, we've presented the report to him, and he seems well attuned to the changes that have been recommended, and I think he's just waiting to see what his colleagues in Parliament might think of the changes.
$600 million. What do you say to people who say that that is just far too much money?
Yes, that's what we thought too. But when you take it in the context of say, the education vote, of nearly 12 billion in education vote, and they tell us there's something like 23% of the children in education or youngsters in education, 23% are Maori. Well, you can start to calculate that if we're going to plant the language back in the homes and in our youngsters, well, you've got a big budget to attend to there. And the 600 million calculates to about 4% of that vote alone, without looking at Maori affairs and television, radio, and these big hitters on budgets and that. We're hoping that there can be what the government has asked for, reprioritisation of where the expenditure and the evaluation processes might be put in place.
In terms of getting the language in the home, tell me about the Runanga plan.
Which Runanga?
9 Runanga, will they be in charge of driving the language in the home?
The Runanga will sit below the structure of the minister and the Mātāwai. The Mātāwai is kind of equivalent of the Taurawhiti i Te Reo. It'll be put in place by the same act, except that our people have said we, iwi, want to be driving this this forward. And so that's how it's been restructured into the 7 dialectal regions, plus the 2 large centres of Auckland and Wellington. So that's how it's being structured, and there's a lot of work and a lot of discussion to go forth yet.
So, Tamati, the report includes a role for broadcasters, particularly yes. Maori television. What do you see as their role in your plan?
Well, in short, it's the Act says that the principal reason why television exists is to promote Te Reo Māori, Maori language promotion, and one asks, and many people asks, how much of there is there of the promotion of Te Reo Māori through television, through radio? And we know there's certain hours for radio. With television, they're saying, well, there's restricted hours there too. And is it the best time to put programs on? And what kinds of programs are actually there to facilitate the learning of Te Reo Māori?
Do you think it would be better for these messages to be carried on a vehicle which has a further reach? So TVNZ has 10 times more viewers than, say, Māori television. And Māori television are almost preaching to the converted. Was there any discussion about a role for mainstream television?
We heard all about that, and of course you would realise that some people were saying, well, our money is being used by mainstream television where it should be with Maori television. But you make the point about about the audience span. It's in general television, and Scotty's program is often referred to as, what, 80% plus watch that program. Whether it's contributing to the knowledge of, say, the Pākehā population, other people in New Zealand, we don't know that. But in terms of audience reach, it has a tremendous reach. So some are saying, well, perhaps we need to target in that direction too. But I guess some are saying, yes, some are saying you need both barrels.
So what's the next phase for this? Yeah, what is the next phase?
The next phase is to, well, some people have said, do not hesitate, don't wait until the government makes a decision. But realistically, we do have to wait for that decision and that response from the government, what they think about the report. Already there's been one or two positive comments come out of the government and saying there are some good recommendations in there, but because of the size of the pute that's being expended, albeit a lot of it is on hardware, television equipment, salaries and so on, and in the education system with bricks and mortar salaries, the actual spend on programs and that is minuscule. But when you have a look at what is actually being spent in the community, that is even a small sliver of all the money that's being expended on Maori language. So the big question is that how do we increase the size of that sliver so that the language in the homes and out in the community is promoted more vigorously and more sustainably.
Excellent. Thank you very much for your time, Sir Tamati. Kia ora.
You're welcome.